Good morning. I'm Pete Najarian on this Monday morning. This is the Take for Market Rebellion. Let me tell you something. Yet last week, we continue to look at, obviously, earnings, and as earnings is pushing the markets around. Last week, another great example of that. Did they deliver? Absolutely. We have record highs across the board. Pretty interesting to watch, as a lot of folks were very nervous coming into October, but October has treated us really well, and the earnings just continue to flow. Even with a couple of misses last week, or at least perceived misses, Apple, Amazon, those are big monsters. The markets continue to move to the upside. As a matter of fact, on Friday, we nearly hit 36,000 on the Dow, and we were up about 90 points. You look over at the NASDAQ, kind of the same story, 15,500. We were up about 50 points. So a really nice performance, despite the fact that there was some concern early. The markets were shifting around a little bit, and obviously some disappointment with the read-through of Apple and Amazon, although both lifted off of their lows significantly. So very interesting. Earnings continue to move on. We are getting further and further through it, though. So now it's the next catalyst and the next catalyst. But for now, earnings is still right in front of us. Now, crude went from 82 to 83, hanging right around in there. We've been talking about crude, this 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Now it seems to be getting a little bit closer, maybe to a pause mode, although today we got some nice movement there as well. Now, I look over at the 10-year. The 10-year was kind of all over the map in October, but here it is resting right around 156 as of Friday. We're up a little bit from that level now, but volatility, it's still in the teens. As a matter of fact, right there at a little bit over 16 for the volatility index, where we closed out the week last week. Now, let's not forget, we basically started the month of October at around 24, and there we finished off the month of October 16. That's pretty significant. That's a monstrous move and push to the downside. And with that move to the downside, a lot of what the nervousness was going into earnings season because of the quarter, a lot of folks very nervous about that. And as we started to get deeper and deeper through that, we watched that volatility get depressed and pushed down. Volumes outrageous, 47 million contracts on Friday, 47 million. Now, you heard me talk about those volumes last week. Multiple days over 40 million contracts, so a monstrous week. Apple, 2.6 million contracts on Friday. Tesla, 2.2 million contracts. Tesla has been very, very, very active, despite the fact that the stock price is trading where it is, which means those premiums are trading at a very high number. And you get 2.2 million contracts there. Lucid continues to be very active, 1.3 million contracts. Those were the three biggies, all over 1 million contracts each. So what were some of the leaders on a Friday? Healthcare up about 1%. Communication services up about 0.8%. We had tech up just a little bit, less than 0.5%. Energy was the one that was getting hammered. That was down about 3%. You can see that reflected in many of the different energy names across the board. Now, eBay had a little bit of a bounce. It was up about 6%. Tesla up about 3.5%. I look over at other names, though, and this one sort of surprised me, Mohawk. Now, a lot of it obviously could be having to do with supply chain, some of the issues that a lot of folks are dealing with, obviously, right now. But down and hammered, down about 11%. Starbucks was down about 6%, some of the disappointment of China. KLAC 10 Core, NVIDIA, both having a pretty decent close on Friday, 2.5%, 5%. Nice moves to the upside. Those Chinese names were under pressure. PDD, JD, NetEase, all of those were under pressure on Friday. That always seems to go back and forth almost on a daily basis, whether that turns into a bullish trade or a bearish trade. But very predictably unpredictable up and down, it seems like, with a lot of these Chinese names of late. Earnings season, like I say, continues to deliver strong performance of October. And here we are kicking off November. Pre-market up about 160 points. Up about 100 points near the open, started to move around a little bit. We had a weird blip. I'm not even sure how to interpret that. But last I looked, we were trading up about 80 points on the Dow. I look over at the NASDAQ, looked strong to start off. We were up about 60 points. That gave back some of that. Matter of fact, got a lot closer to flat, or somewhere very close to flat. It just kind of progressively pulled back. We'll see. First hour of trade, a lot of moving, a lot of shifting, and especially after an expiration, new month, all those things as factors, certainly having moving, showing what the movements really can look like. By the way, volatility, I was just talking about how it was 24, we went into the 16s. We actually got even below 15 during the month of October for one brief moment. But 17 and a quarter today. I'm looking at a volatility index that actually was rising about 5%. So a little bit of a lift there. You look a little bit of a lift in the 10-year, near 1.6, not quite 1.6, but it's touched on that level. Crude right around 84. You look over at Bitcoin trading 62,000. It's been very, very steady, Bitcoin, not nearly as volatile. It's been kind of hanging around this, call it 60 to 63,000 sort of a level. And it's we'll see how that continues and if there is that pause before we make the next move, whether that's up or down. More likely up, it seems like. So many bulls these days in Bitcoin. A lot of folks been talking about getting into the 6 digits. We'll see, but a lot of talk and a lot of chatter about that. So American Airlines. This one I'm just bringing up because of the headline. They had to cancel 1,700 flights, staffing problems. This since Friday. So that just tells you a little bit of something about what's going on. We talk about labor shortages. We talk about a lot of these different factors that everybody's got to work through, every company in some way or another, whether it's supply chain or whatever it might be, labor. We talk about those costs and so forth. Just once again, just to highlighting that, just to give you a little bit of an idea of what's going on in the travel industry and some of the issues that people are facing right now. Standouts so far. Take a look at energy. Now, I mentioned that oil was up there near, crude up there near about 84, somewhere in that category. Take a look at what's going on with these beta names, the XOP type names that we bring up all the time. Devon, APA, Diamondback, Marathon. Go through the list, all of them having a pretty nice start to the day. We'll see if that continues as well. Moderna, not so nice, down about 5%. I'm sure Stephen Weiss will be talking about that. Oh, by the way, I will be on the halftime report today. So it'll be pretty interesting. I know Steven's there, and I know the whole gang will be there. Scott, of course, hosting again. So pretty exciting, and we're getting ready for that. About an hour and a half, we'll be starting on that halftime report. Tesla up about 2%. JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs were leading the Dow early on. Financials were up strong very early, up about 0.75%. That started to flatten out. Now, there's been some shifting around, and even while we're talking, we'll see. But it actually had gotten all the way to flat. We had that big dramatic move in the Dow where we pulled back and then we sort of bounced right back, it seemed like. So a lot of movement early on, but in a tight little range, actually, when you consider the size of the Dow itself. Now, got 2 unusual for you, and then we're going to get out of here. We've got plenty more coming at halftime. As a matter of fact, I'll be breaking down one of those crazy stocks that's been absolutely on fire of late. I'll be breaking down some of the option activity that we've been seeing in there, leading into some of the moves that we've seen, and what are we looking for going forward. But before we do that, we got our 2 unusuals. Facebook's number 1. Stock was trading right around 330 at the time. Early on, 17,600, November 5th expiring. That's this week, very short. Matter of fact, when I was looking, most everything, not all of them, but most everything, very, very, very short term. Everything seems to be going right here in this first week expiration cycle, November 5th. So these are the 330 calls, right at the money, right where Facebook was trading, 330. They're buying the 330 calls, paying anywhere from $4 up to about $6 for those calls. 17,600 of those trading. There were other buys as well attached to this. CHPT, we talk about EV space all the time. Just there's so many different aspects to this whole thing. Trading right around 25.35, 8,500 of the November 5th expiring 28 calls. Now, these are going for about 22 cents to 40 cents. Very inexpensive, interesting to watch to see exactly what's going to happen with this one, because we've seen, and this is a very, very short-term trade, so it's going to be something that I think we got to keep a very close eye on. But these charging companies, these battery companies, these EV companies, all of that, just kind of put them into one big basket. And we have seen a little bit of activity in this CHPT before. So we'll see if this one is able to produce or not. A lot of activity last week. As a matter of fact, we focused last week on looking and saying energy, not seeing a whole lot of activity. EV space seems to have completely replaced that. We'll see if that trend continues this week as well. Folks, have a great day of trading. Look forward to seeing you at noon. Cool.